Have you ever studied grammar, watched English movies, even joined classes? But when it's time to speak, your mind goes blank? You freeze. The words disappear. The sentence won't come out. Frustrating, right? You wonder, I study so much. So why can't I speak fluently? Here's the truth. You are missing one simple thing, and that thing is reading. Yes, reading. It's not boring homework. It's the secret fuel for your English. Reading gives you new words, shows you grammar naturally, and makes your brain think in English. And the best part? You don't need to memorize rules or take notes. Just read stories, comics, articles, anything fun. If you read more, you will speak better. It's that simple. So stay with me. In this video, I'll show you exactly how reading can change your English forever. Chapter 1. Reading gives you words. When you read, you enter a new world. A world of words. Imagine this. You open a book or even a short story on your phone. At first, maybe you don't understand every word, but something magical happens. Some words stay with you. They stick in your mind like glue. Think about the first time you learned the word beautiful. Maybe you read it in a story. The writer said, "It was a beautiful morning." You saw it. You felt it. And now, every time you want to describe something nice, that word comes back. This is how reading works. It gives you words. Do you ever feel that you don't have enough vocabulary when you speak? You want to explain, but the right word is missing. Reading solves this problem. Every page you read gives you a gift, new words. You don't even need to memorize them like in a list. Your brain catches them naturally. Let me tell you a small story. One of my students, Maria, loved reading short English stories online. At first, she knew only simple words like good, bad, happy, sad. But every week, she read one story. After 2 months, she surprised herself. She used words like excited, wonderful, dangerous, lonely. She didn't sit down to study them. She just saw them many times in stories. Reading gave her those words. That's the secret. Words grow in your brain when you see them again and again. Reading is like planting seeds. Each word is a seed. The more you read, the more seeds you plant. Some seeds grow fast, others take time. But slowly, your vocabulary becomes a big, strong tree. Now, let me ask you, which is easier? Memorizing 100 words from a boring list, or meeting those 100 words in 10 different stories? Of course, the second one feels natural. You don't feel pressure. You just enjoy the story, and at the same time, you learn. When you read, you also see how words live in sentences. You don't only learn the word happy. You see phrases like she was happy to see her friend, or he felt happy after the exam. That's important, because speaking is not about single words. Speaking is about sentences. Reading shows you ready-made sentences that you can use in your own life. Let's take another example. Suppose you read a short story where a boy says, "I'm looking forward to the weekend." Maybe at first you only know the word weekend, but now you learn the whole phrase, looking forward to. Next week, when someone asks you, "How are you?" you can say, "I'm looking forward to Sunday." See? Reading just gave you a natural English phrase. Sometimes learners tell me, "Sam, I read, but I don't understand every word. Should I stop and check the dictionary? My answer is simple. No. Don't stop too much. If you understand 70–80% of the text, keep reading. Guess the meaning from the situation. The story will explain it to you. Later, when you see the same word again, the meaning becomes clearer. That's how you learn naturally, just like children learn their first language. Think about little children. They don't sit with a dictionary. They hear words again and again in stories, songs, and daily life. That's how they grow their language. You can do the same with English. Reading is your daily story time. Another tip: choose reading material that is just a little above your level. Not too easy, not too hard. If it's too easy, you don't get new words. If it's too hard, you get frustrated. But when it's just right, you find new words in a comfortable way. And don't forget, words are power. The more words you know, the more confident you feel when speaking or writing. Imagine standing in front of people and trying to explain your ideas. If you have the right words, you feel strong. Reading gives you that strength. So remember this first lesson: reading gives you words. Every story, every article, every page you read is a gift. The more you read, the more words you collect. And the more words you collect, the better your English becomes. Are you ready to open a book today? Even if it's just one page, do it. Because every page is a step forward in your English journey. Chapter 2: Reading shows you grammar in action. When I first started learning English, grammar looked like a big mountain. So many rules, so many exceptions. I thought to myself, how can I ever remember all of this? Maybe you have felt the same. You open a grammar book and it feels heavy. Rules are written. Examples are given. But when you try to speak, you forget. The book feels far away from real life. That is why reading is powerful. Reading shows you grammar in action. You do not just see the rule. You see the rule being used in a real sentence. You see how people really talk. You see how writers really write. And suddenly, grammar becomes easier. Let me give you an example. Imagine you read this sentence in a story. She was walking down the street when it started to rain. If you only study grammar, you might learn about the past continuous tense. You read, past continuous is was, were, plus verb plus ing. You see the structure. But maybe you still feel confused. When do I use it? Why do I need it? But when you read the sentence in a story, it makes sense. You picture a woman walking. You picture the rain starting. You see that one action was happening when another action interrupted. Suddenly, grammar is alive. It is not just a rule. It is a real-life picture. This is why I always say, reading is grammar's best teacher. A story is like a living classroom. Each page gives you lessons without you even asking. You may not notice it, but your brain does. Think about how children learn grammar in their own language. Do they sit down and read a grammar book at age 3? No. They listen. They watch. They repeat. They hear their parents say, I am eating, or she is sleeping. And little by little, they copy. They don't know the rule, but they use it correctly. The same happens with reading. When you see sentences again and again, your brain starts to copy. You may not even realize it. One day you will say something and then you will stop and think, Wait, how did I know that was right? The answer is simple. You saw it many times while reading. Let's try another example. Imagine you read this in a news article. The company has launched a new product this year. Here you see the present perfect tense, has launched. Maybe you studied this tense before, but it was confusing. You learned present perfect is used for actions that started in the past and continue to the present, or for actions connected to now. Complicated, right? But when you read it in a real article, it becomes clear. The company launched something in the past, but it's still important now. The action is connected to the present. That's why the writer used has launched instead of launched. Suddenly, the rule feels simple. Reading gives you these natural lessons every day. You don't have to memorize every grammar rule. You don't have to stress. Just keep reading, and your brain will slowly understand. Now, let me share a personal story. When I was a student, I used to read short stories in English every night. At first, I didn't understand much. I had to stop often and check the dictionary. But slowly, something changed. I started noticing patterns. I noticed that questions often began with did in the past, like, did you go to school yesterday? I noticed that stories often used was or were when describing things, like, the house was small, the windows were open. No, teacher told me these rules at that moment. I just saw them again and again, and my brain learned. Do you see the power of this? Reading gives you examples that stick in your mind. And examples are stronger than rules. Rules can fade, but examples stay. Think about your favorite song. Do you remember the grammar in the lyrics? Maybe not. But you remember the words. The same happens with reading. The sentences stay with you, and when you need them, they come out. Now let me give you some advice. When you read, don't only focus on meaning. Of course, meaning is important, but sometimes stop and look at the structure. Ask yourself, why did the writer use this tense? Why did they use this word order? When you ask these small questions, grammar becomes clearer. For example, if you see, if I were you, I would try again. Stop for a moment. Why does it say were and not was? You may discover that this is the subjunctive mood used for unreal situations. You may not know the name. That's okay. But the idea will stay with you. When I imagine, I use were. Another tip. Read different kinds of texts. Stories show you dialogue. Newspapers show you formal writing. Blogs show you casual writing. All of these give you grammar in action. You see how grammar changes depending on the situation. So remember, grammar is not only in books. It lives in every story, every article, every novel. When you read, you invite grammar into your life, and slowly it becomes part of you. Chapter 3. Reading improves your thinking in English. When you start reading in English, something amazing happens. Your brain begins to change. Slowly, it stops translating from your first language. Instead, it begins to think directly in English. This is one of the biggest secrets to learning fast. Let me explain. Imagine you are reading a story. The sentence says, "The boy is running in the park. He feels happy because the sun is shining." Now, if you are a beginner, maybe at first, you translate each word into your own language. You think, boy, running, park. sun, happy. It feels slow. You pause. You break the sentence into little pieces. That is normal in the beginning. But when you keep reading, something changes. After some time, your brain gets used to the patterns. You no longer need to stop and translate. When you see the word happy, you don't think about your language. You simply feel the meaning. When you read sun is shining, you can already picture the bright sky in your mind. Do you see the difference? Reading makes your brain faster. Reading helps you think in English directly. Let me give you a small example from my own students. One of my students, Maria, always translated in her head. She used to say, "Teacher, I cannot speak fast." I always stop and think in Spanish first. I gave her a simple advice. Read every day. I told her, "Maria, even if you read just 10 minutes daily, your brain will change." After 3 months, Maria came to me with a smile. She said, "Teacher, now when I read a story, I don't translate. I see the picture in English. I hear the words in my head like a movie." That was progress. Why does this happen? Because reading gives your brain practice with sentences, with connections, with natural flow. It's like training your mind to run on English roads instead of your own language roads. At first, the road feels strange, but step by step, it becomes familiar. And soon, your brain starts walking, then running, then flying in English. Think about it like this. Reading is not only about words, it is about ideas. It is about pictures in your head. It is about feelings in your heart. When you read, you are not only learning vocabulary, you are learning how to think in another language. Another example. If you always read stories in English, you begin to feel the rhythm. You start to think, what will happen next? If the story says, the door opened slowly, you expect something scary or exciting. That is thinking in English. Your brain is not waiting for translation. Your brain is already predicting in English. This is very powerful. Some learners ask me, "Teacher, how can I stop translating in my head?" My answer is always the same. Read more, read every day. Reading trains your brain like nothing else. If you watch movies, sometimes the pictures carry the meaning. You don't always notice the words. But in reading, every idea comes only through words. Your brain must work in English. That is why reading is so strong. Now let me ask you, do you want to speak English without thinking too much? Do you want to answer quickly, naturally, without stopping? Then you must train your brain. And the easiest way to train is reading. Let me give you a small exercise. Take a short English story. Read it slowly one time. Yes, you can translate if you want. Then read it again. This time, don't translate. Just imagine the pictures. Imagine the boy in the park, the sun shining, the smile on his face. Read it a third time. Now, try to hear the English words in your head. Feel the flow. That is how your brain learns to think in English. So, the lesson is simple. Reading is not only for learning words. It is not only for grammar. Reading is for thinking. It makes your brain comfortable inside English. It builds new paths in your mind. And the more you read, the stronger those paths become. Remember, every page you read is like a brick in a house. Slowly, page by page, you are building your English house. One day, without even noticing, you will be living inside that house. You will think, dream, and speak in English. And it all starts with reading. Chapter 4. Reading improves your pronunciation and speaking. My friend, let me ask you something. Have you ever tried to say a word in English but you were not sure how it should sound? Maybe you looked at the word and your tongue froze. You wanted to say it, but your mouth did not know the right movement. This is very common. Many learners feel shy to speak because they are afraid of saying words incorrectly. But here is the good news. Reading can help you. When you read, you don't just see letters. You also start to hear the words in your mind. Reading is like a bridge between your eyes and your ears. Let me explain. Think of this. You open a book and you read the sentence. She walks to the market every morning. If you have heard this kind of sentence before, your brain will whisper the sound to you. You will hear it in your head. That whisper is very powerful. It trains your pronunciation silently. Now, you may ask, but what if I don't know how to pronounce the word? This is where reading helps again. Because when you read a word many times, you recognize it. You start connecting it with how it is said in movies, songs, or in class. Slowly, your brain makes the link between spelling and sound. For example, the word enough. The spelling looks strange. E-N-O-U-G-H. If you only see it once, it confuses you. But if you see it many times while reading, your brain remembers. Enough is pronounced like enough. Reading shows you this pattern again and again. Here is another secret. Reading out loud. When you read out loud, you give your tongue exercise. Your mouth moves. Your lips shape the sounds. Your voice repeats the rhythm of English. It may feel slow at first, but every time you do it, your muscles become stronger. Speaking is like sports. The more you train, the more natural it becomes. Imagine this. You read one page every day out loud. At first, you make mistakes. You stop. You repeat. But after 1 week, you are faster. After 1 month, your voice flows. After 1 year, you sound clear and confident. This is the power of daily reading. Reading also improves your intonation, the music of your voice. English is not just words. It is rhythm, rise and fall, stress on some syllables, soft sound on others. When you read stories or dialogues, you can copy this music. For example, are you coming? Your voice goes up at the end. Yes, I am. Your voice falls calmly. When you read, you don't just learn words. You learn this hidden music. And when you speak, people feel you are natural. Think about actors. How do they train? They read scripts. They repeat lines. They speak them out loud until they sound real. You can do the same. Your book is your script. Your reading voice is your training. And let me tell you a story. One of my students, Maria, was very shy. She never spoke in class. She thought her accent was too heavy. One day, I asked her to read 1 page of a story out loud, just for herself at home. She did this every night. After 3 months, she surprised everyone. Her pronunciation was clear. Her voice was confident. She said, "Reading gave me my voice." So, my friend, if you feel afraid to speak, remember this. Reading is not silent. It is practice for your tongue, your ears, and your confidence. Next time you read, try this small exercise. Read one short paragraph silently. Then, read the same paragraph out loud. Listen to yourself. Repeat it again with better flow. Do this every day, and I promise you, your pronunciation will change. Reading is not just for the eyes. Reading is also for the voice. Chapter 5. Reading builds confidence. Confidence is like a hidden engine inside us. When it is strong, we speak without fear. When it is weak, we stay silent, even when we know the words. Many English learners tell me, "Sam, I know some words. I know some grammar. But when I try to speak, my mind freezes." Does this sound familiar? Here is the truth. Confidence does not come suddenly. It grows step by step, like a tree growing from a small seed. And one of the best ways to water this seed is through reading. Let me explain. Imagine you are reading a short story in English. At first, you are nervous. You think, "I will not understand anything." But as you read, you realize, "Wait, I know this word. I know this sentence." Your heart feels lighter. You smile a little. You say to yourself, "I can do this." That small moment of success gives you courage. Reading works like a safe playground. In this playground, you can explore without fear. You don't need to worry about people judging you. You can read at your own speed. You can stop, repeat, and try again. Every page you finish tells you, "Yes, I am improving." That feeling becomes your power. Think about this. Confidence is not just about knowing English. It is about believing you can use English. And reading gives you evidence. Each sentence you understand, each word you recognize, is proof. Proof that you are growing. Proof that your hard work is working. Let me share a story. A student once told me, "Sam, I was so shy to speak in class. But then I started reading short articles every day. At first I understood only half. Later I understood more. One day, my teacher asked me to explain the article. I was scared. But when I spoke, the words came naturally. Everyone clapped. That day, my confidence doubled." Do you see? Reading gave that student more than words. It gave belief. It gave courage. Here is a small exercise for you. Pick a short English text, maybe a children's story or a news article. Read it slowly. Then close the book and tell yourself, "I just read in English." Celebrate this moment, even if it was not perfect. This celebration is like fuel. The more you read, the more fuel you collect. Soon, your English engine runs strong. Confidence also grows because reading shows you progress. Yesterday, you struggled with 10 sentences. Today, you can handle 20. Tomorrow, maybe 30. Progress creates pride, and pride builds courage. Remember, the opposite of confidence is fear. Fear says, "I cannot." Reading answers, "Yes, you can." Every page you finish whispers to you, "You are not weak. You are stronger than yesterday." So, whenever you feel shy, whenever you feel small, open a book. Let the words inside remind you, you are capable, you are learning, and you are ready to speak. Because the truth is simple. Reading is not only about learning English. It is about learning to believe in yourself. Chapter 6. Reading connects you to culture. When I open a book, I don't just see words. I see people. I see places. I see history. Reading is not only about learning English, it is about stepping into another world. And this world teaches me culture. For example, when I read a simple English story about a family celebrating Thanksgiving in America, I learn more than vocabulary. I learn about traditions. I learn about food like turkey and pumpkin pie. I learn about gratitude. Suddenly, English is not just a language. It is a window into how people live, what they celebrate, and what they believe. Culture and language are always together. You cannot separate them. If you only study grammar rules, you know the skeleton of English. But when you read, you add the heart and soul. Reading shows you how people use English in their daily life, in their festivals, in their stories, and even in their jokes. Think about it. If you read a dialogue in a novel where two friends greet each other, you also learn politeness, humor, and style. For example, one character might say, "Hey, what's up?" while another says, "Good morning, how are you?" Both are greetings, but they tell you something about age, culture, and situation. Without reading, you may not know the difference. Reading also helps me understand values. When I read about Martin Luther King Jr., I learn about justice and equality. When I read Shakespeare, I learn about love, tragedy, and human feelings. When I read modern blogs, I learn about today's world, technology, travel, and lifestyle. Step by step, my English grows, but so does my understanding of people. And here is something powerful. When I understand culture, I speak better English. Why? Because I know when to use formal words and when to use casual words. I know how to show respect. I know how to tell a joke. Culture makes my English sound natural, not mechanical. So every time I read, I remind myself, this is not just practice. This is connection. Reading connects me to people I have never met, to countries I have never visited, and to experiences I have never lived. Through reading, I travel without moving. I listen without speaking. I learn without asking. That is the magic of culture through reading. It gives my English not just accuracy, but life. Chapter 7. Reading is your daily teacher. Imagine this. Every day, without going to school, without paying for a tutor, without even leaving your room, you can still have a teacher with you. That teacher is a book. That teacher is reading. When you read, the book becomes alive. It talks to you. It teaches you. It guides you. And the best part? This teacher is always patient. A book never gets angry if you repeat the same page 10 times. It never complains if you read slowly. It never judges you if you make mistakes. It simply waits for you, ready to teach again and again. Now think about real life. Sometimes when we try to speak English with people, we feel shy. We feel pressure. We worry. What if they laugh at me? What if I say it wrong? But with reading, the pressure disappears. Reading is private. Reading is safe. Reading is your personal classroom. Let me give you an example. Suppose you decide to read just one page every night before sleeping. That one page may have 5 new words. At first you don't understand them, but you read again. You underline them. You check their meaning. The next day, you see one of the words again in another page. Suddenly, it feels familiar. You start remembering it. Slowly, those 5 words become part of your English memory. Now, imagine doing this every day for 1 month. That's around 150 new words, and you did not sit in a boring grammar class. You simply let your daily teacher, reading, teach you naturally. Reading also gives you structure. For example, you might read, "She is going to the market." She went to the market. She will go to the market. These 3 sentences look simple. But when you read them many times in different stories, you begin to understand tenses. Not from rules, not from heavy grammar books, but by seeing real English in use. The book shows you, the story teaches you. Step by step, your brain learns. The magic of reading as a teacher is consistency. Think about it. If you only read once a week, you will not learn much. But if you read a little every day, the teacher is always with you. Just like a drop of water can cut through stone if it falls daily, reading a small amount daily can make you strong in English. Another secret is this: reading teaches without you realizing. You may think, "I'm just enjoying a story," but in reality, you are learning. You are absorbing sentence patterns, expressions, and even pronunciation in your head. Later, when you speak, the words flow out. And you ask yourself, where did I learn that phrase? The answer is your daily teacher, reading. Let's take a personal story. One learner I know used to struggle a lot with English. He couldn't form sentences. He was afraid to talk. But he started reading comic books in English every day, just 10 minutes daily. At first, he only looked at the pictures and read simple dialogues. Slowly, he began to understand. After 6 months, his English improved so much that he could talk with confidence. He always says, "Those comics were my real teacher." So here's the truth. Reading doesn't just give knowledge. It gives discipline. It creates a habit. It makes English a part of your daily life. And when something becomes part of your daily life, it becomes natural. Ask yourself, what if I let reading be my teacher every single day? Imagine where your English will be in 6 months, in 1 year. You don't need to wait for the perfect class. You don't need to wait for the perfect teacher. The teacher is already in your hands, in the form of a book, an article, or even subtitles on a video. So, let reading be your daily teacher. Trust it. Follow it. Stay with it. Because every page you turn is a lesson, every paragraph is practice, and every book is a classroom. And the best part? This teacher will never leave you. So now you can see, reading is not just an activity. It is a journey. It gives you words. It teaches you grammar. It helps you think in English. It improves your speaking. It builds your confidence. It connects you to culture. And it becomes your daily teacher. If you make reading a habit, even for just 15 minutes a day, your English will grow stronger and stronger. Every book, every story, every page is like a step forward. Step by step, you will see the change in yourself. So keep reading, keep learning, and remember, the more you read, the more fluent, confident, and natural your English will become.